from our Toronto studios. This is the Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum, I'm Zahra Syed. Our top story tonight. Israeli strikes have killed 68 Palestinians and injured 94 others in Gaza over the past 24 hours, according to the Palestinian Health Ministry. Al Jazeera reports that displaced Palestinians attempting to return home in northern Gaza faced Israeli army gunfire. Israeli tanks blocked Rashid Road, forcing Palestinians back to southern shelters. Euromed Human Rights Monitor has condemned Israeli attacks on displaced people, which have killed and wounded dozens, including women and children. Israeli forces again bombed the Nusayrat refugee camp, killing 5 and injuring many others. Israeli warplanes struck the vicinity of the Gaza European Hospital, south of Khan Yunis city, injuring 5 people. Palestinian news agency Wafa reports that the Israeli army targeted agricultural land in the Manara neighborhood, southeast of Khan Yunis. At least 33,797 Palestinians have been killed and 76,465 wounded in Israeli attacks on Gaza since October 7th. The death toll in Israel from Hamas's attacks stands at 1,139, with dozens of people still held as prisoners. At least 9 Iranian ballistic missiles successfully evaded Israel's advanced air defense system, striking 2 air bases in the Negev desert. The strikes were in response to Israel's suspected attack on the Iranian consulate in Damascus, Syria, earlier this month, which killed at least 7 people. Iranian officials assert the strike aimed to signal consequences for crossing what they called their red lines and threatened a robust counter-response to any Israeli retaliation. Concerns have arisen over the effectiveness of Israel's Arrow 3 defense system, prompting a war cabinet meeting to deliberate response strategies. The Iranian attack comprised of 170 drones, 30 cruise missiles, and 120 ballistic missiles. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres is urging de-escalation following Iran's direct attack on Israel. Amidst such heightened tensions, Iranian and Saudi Arabian foreign ministers have discussed regional developments. Meanwhile, Russia's Pacific Fleet frigate has entered the Mediterranean through the Suez Canal, continuing its mission according to the naval training plans. In related news, President Joe Biden has told Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu the U.S. will not back any Israeli counterattack on Iran during a recent phone call. Biden urged Netanyahu to acknowledge their defensive successes. The statement follows escalating tensions after Iran's retaliatory strikes against Israel. On April 1st, Israel conducted an airstrike on Iran's consulate building in Damascus, Syria, killing 7 people, including 2 Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps generals. Legal analysts and experts say the attack is a violation of international law, which forbids attacks on diplomatic and consular premises. On Saturday, Iran launched extensive attacks on Israel, using kamikaze drones and ballistic and cruise missiles. The U.S. Embassy in Israel had directed all government employees and family members to shelter in place Sunday until further notice amid an Iran attack. It reminded U.S. nationals of the continued need for caution and increased personal security awareness. The U.S. Central Command reports the interception of more than 80 attack drones and at least 6 ballistic missiles originating from Iran and Yemen. On Saturday, American forces thwarted a significant portion of these threats aimed at Israel through a joint effort of American and European allied destroyers. The cancellation of Palestine Congress in Germany sparks protests. Details come after the break. Stay tuned and we'll be right back. Welcome back. Protesters took to the streets in Germany's capital, Berlin, to call out the cancellation of the Palestinian Congress 2 hours after its commencement. The event's aim was to draw attention to Israel's genocide in Gaza. Thousands rallied at the Neptunbrunnen Square to voice their discontent. Pro-Palestine protesters held banners reading, "Germany, stop supporting the genocide," and "Freedom of thought is no longer." Police took 3 protesters into custody. A group of counter-protesters waved Israeli flags to provoke the pro-Palestine rally. Berlin police stormed the Palestine Congress venue on Friday, shut off the electricity, and canceled the weekend-long event. Former Greek minister Yanis Varoufakis and British Palestinian surgeon Dr. Hassan Abu Sitteh, who worked for 45 days in Gaza with Doctors Without Borders at the Al-Shifa hospital, spoke at the Congress. A Turkish publisher group launched a 24-hour live broadcast in Istanbul to honor journalists killed in Israel's attacks on Gaza. It was organized by the Anadolu Publishers Federation. Sinan Burhan, head of the organization, stressed the non-political nature of the broadcast, emphasizing journalists' role as the voice of Palestinians. Turkey's communications director Fahrettin Altun affirmed the nation's support for Palestine, condemning efforts to suppress truth and praising journalists' resilience. Palestinian researcher Muin Naim denounced the events in Gaza as the worst massacre of journalists in history, accusing Israel of deliberately targeting them. Major U.S. news outlets are calling on President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump to commit to participating in debates for the November election. Despite the ongoing primary season, both candidates have secured enough delegates for their respective party nominations. The Commission on Presidential Debates has already set dates for 3 debates in September and October. The joint letter, signed by prominent news organizations such as ABC News, CBS News, and Fox News, emphasizes the importance of these debates. It is also urging both candidates to publicly confirm their participation in the general election debates before November. The U.S. House has approved a measure to expand warrantless spying. The controversial bill passed by 273 to 147 votes, extending Section 702 of Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, or FISA, for 2 years. Despite concerns about abuse, including snooping on protesters and lawmakers, the bill now heads to the Senate. Critics argue the legislation grants unchecked power to intelligence agencies, allowing warrantless surveillance of Americans' communications. Efforts to include warrant protections failed after the White House opposed them on national security grounds. Attorney General Merrick Garland and White House National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan called members of Congress personally to pressure them to vote against the protection demanded by civil liberties advocates. The House also approved amendments broadening the surveillance powers. In a floor speech, Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal said every day the FBI conducts on average 500 warrantless searches of Americans' private communications, resulting in more than 278,000 searches in 1 year. More than 165,000 signatures have been gathered by a petition urging Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas to recuse himself from a case involving Donald Trump. It pertains to whether Trump enjoys immunity from criminal charges related to his attempts to overturn the 2020 election. Organized by the organization Move On, the petition cites Thomas's conflicts of interests due to his wife Ginny Thomas's involvements in efforts to overturn the election. Move On emphasizes the need for impartiality in cases related to the January 6, 2021 insurrection. The group asserts Thomas's recusal is crucial for the integrity of the judicial system. Alexis Martinez, Move On's campaign director, underscored the importance of addressing Supreme Court corruption. He said it starts with Thomas's recusal and advocates for broader ethic reforms. Oral arguments for the Trump immunity case are scheduled for April 25th. Uzbekistan has escalated efforts against religious extremism and terrorism. This comes in the wake of a terrorist attack that killed 144 people on March 22nd near Moscow. It was allegedly carried out by Tajiks and planned by ISIS. Uzbekistan's government has raided suspected extremists' homes. Police have advised against following extremist groups on social media and urged monitoring children's online activities. Additionally, parents have been warned against sending children to unregistered schools abroad. Imams have also been instructed to surrender passports, ostensibly for data registration. Uzbek authorities are also aiming to counter xenophobia faced by Central Asians in Russia post-attack. However, critics view this as a move to control religious leaders. Dozens of Central Asians have been arrested in recent years in Russia, Turkey, the European Union, the United States, Iran, and Afghanistan for allegedly carrying out or plotting terrorist attacks. Some 6,000 Central Asians, including at least 2,500 Uzbek citizens, joined ISIS in Syria and Iraq when it seized swaths of territories a decade ago. Most Central Asian governments repatriated hundreds of their citizens, mostly women and children, after the defeat of ISIS in 2019 in Syria. A prominent Uyghur activist has been awarded the Roosevelt Foundation's Freedom of Worship Award for her relentless advocacy for Uyghur rights. Organizers say Zumrete Arkin was recognized for her dedication to upholding the 4 freedoms outlined by President Franklin Roosevelt. The award ceremony in Middelburg, Netherlands, was attended by Dutch royalty and Prime Minister Mark Rutte. The 30-year-old activist emphasized the global significance of Uyghur persecution and urged collective action against China's human rights abuses. Arkin has championed Uyghur causes internationally, drawing attention to religious suppression and human rights violations. Western governments, including the United States and the Netherlands, have called China's actions against the Uyghurs as genocide. That's all from our Toronto studios tonight. Thank you for tuning in. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell icon for the latest updates. Your support is needed more now than ever to continue our mission of providing informative, educational, and inspiring content to Muslims in North America and around the world. Donate now by calling 1-800-432-4262. You can also use the Zelle app for easy payments by sending to info@soundvision.com or visit muslimnetwork.tv/donate. For more content, keep watching Muslim Network TV or visit muslimnetwork.tv. Assalamu alaikum and good night.